The following is a live broadcast of a Lone Star community radio program, recorded and broadcasted live on irlonestar.com, Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and facebook.com/irlonestar. For more information on this show, please visit our show page at irlonestar.com/shows. To sponsor or donate to this program, visit our donate page at irlonestar.com/donate, or email us at lscrstudios@gmail.com, or give us a call at 936-666-1084. Lone Star Community Radio production and broadcast is possible by folks like you. So sponsor and donate today.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCC LP Conroe, and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Legal Connection with Tony and Cheryl. Tony Lynn Collins and Cheryl Ellsworth Jahani. We are two Texas licensed attorneys, and we are here to talk about legal topics, things that concern you, situations you may find yourself in, to help you through a legal maze that could somehow crop up in your life and you have some questions or anxiety about, or just general information. We have a really exciting show today. We're going to have a guest, Grant Bynum, who is the founder of Open Texas. And I don't know if you guys know about Open Texas, but Open Texas is the group that is doing rallies all over the state. This morning, they were in downtown Dallas, and just a little bit about it. I'm sure we're going to ask him all sorts of questions about Open Texas and how it got started, but I know because Grant is my brother, and so I know all about it. He started, I think, about 15 days ago, a Facebook page called Open Texas, and within 24 hours, they had 2,000 members. 48 hours later, they had 5,000 members. Last weekend, 12 days after opening Open Texas, they had 47,000 members. Did you know that, Dick?
No, I don't keep a pulse on that kind of stuff.
Well, those are pretty crazy numbers. Those are a lot of numbers. But before we have Grant on, we're going to have him on in a couple of minutes.
Do you think they're Russian bots?
What are Russian bots?
The numbers. Do you think it's a Russian thing?
Well, I don't, but I know a lot of people who do. And there's just a lot, and Grant, it's interesting that you say that, Dick, because I got on Open Texas and looked at the Facebook page, and one of the 6 rules that Grant had was no conspiracy theories. And, because he's my brother and we're close, we talk on the phone all the time and stuff. And I said, Grant, I was really proud of you for that no conspiracy theory thing. And Grant said, we got him. We're weeding them out all the time. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff that they get, but they still, they have so many people interested in this that they're actually going out, breaking the social distancing thing, and demonstrating. There was a demonstration last weekend in Frisco, Texas, and they were practicing social distancing, actually. And they had about 500 people there by someone who divvied up the sections and did the head counts and all of that. They had about 500 people there. But I don't know how many they had this morning, but we're about to find out because we're going to call Grant. But I want to just talk about quickly, before we call him here in a couple of minutes, Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 of Greg Abbott's order to reopen Texas. And this was sent to me. What is your name? Jack, who is an intern here at the radio station, told me, I showed him this. It's Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3. It's a rollout.
Right.
And it was sent to me yesterday, and he said that he recognized it. He thought maybe it was streamed on YouTube.
Uh-huh.
But Phase 1, which is what we're in now,
Right.
is a mobilized 1,157 state and local contact tracers.
Uh-huh.
Contact tracing IT application and to establish COVID-19 contact tracing call center.
It makes no sense to me. What are you talking about?
Well, the contact tracing is where if someone has COVID, then they trace back.
Oh, okay, yeah, like the little blue dot thing I was watching on 60 Minutes where they can see by who's got it and where you're going and all that kind of thing.
Right. And of course, there are a lot of people out there talking about conspiracy theory. There are a lot of people out there that think this is just Big Brother and putting Big Brother in his place now.
I think they can benefit by this.
Uh-huh.
But I will add this real quick. I'm liking this, the COVID and the phasing, because of the mask. They are the cutest mask that they're getting out there right now. Everybody's showing up with these beautiful custom-made like A&M masks.
I know.
And I think they're really beneficial to us. I mean, COVID is like my kind of thing if we're going to have it. Because first off, we don't have to work. It's vacation. Secondly, we get to wear a mask. We only have to put half our makeup on. And it's covering up the part of my face that I would need like an aesthetic surgical procedure on to fix.
Oh,
and I'm
please.
thinking they had something. It was what the jihads. I think the people over there in India.
Well, that was the desert, and that was the Middle East.
But the
jihad.
eyes of the windows of the soul. If that's the only thing that's showing, if this is a good time.
That's just in our American movies. In real life in Saudi Arabia, they have a screen over their eyes. But I'll let you go on. Go on.
But the thing is that these phases are not opening up like the cosmetic, for your nails and your hair and the things and bars, all the things that you need to find your perfect mate. So I'm thinking this is a good time to have your actual, soulmate. This is when you can find them because COVID is allowing you to.
Because they can only see your eyes.
Spend more time on the inside and less on the outside, and we can wear these cute little masks and social distancing. I'm not a hugger, you know that.
Oh, I know.
I was born for social distancing. I'm loving this because you get to go to movie theaters and there's two spaces between you. There's no
You're
crowd.
safe from, yeah.
So I'm thinking, and now the environment's better. So there's a silver lining here to this COVID thing for me.
Okay, well, so phase 2, and I want to get to this. Oh, well, it's only 12:08. Oh, my watch is a little fast. Phase 2, add an additional 1,000 contact tracers.
Who is adding these?
The state government.
They're tracing us
That's the plan.
with what? Your phone?
I don't know exactly how it's
you know?
going to go down.
Do any of you have any idea what the tracer thing is about?
I think it's when you test positive.
Oh, you get like a chip, like a dog.
End times, baby.
Well, I mean, they probably do something where whatever Texas database, like they'll use the driver database or something like that, Department of Public Safety database, and then when you get your tested, they'll just add that
Like
to
an
the file.
ankle monitor or something? I mean,
No, I don't think it's a restriction. I think it's just information. So it's kind of like when police officers pull you over, they immediately have access. I think was it 6
Right.
years ago? They immediately have access if you're covered insurance wise.
Oh, yeah.
So I always find it funny when they ask you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
"Can I have your driver's
And they already
license and
know.
registration?" And like they already know.
They know if you're lying.
Yeah, and they might not know your driver's license, but they know if that car is covered. So, but yeah, I think it's to be something similar to that.
Okay.
Because I wonder if there's probably going to be lawsuits about HIPAA and all that kind of stuff
Right.
if they're allowed to have access to your
Oh,
medical
this is
information.
gonna
Right. But, we were watching the 60 Minutes had a show on, it was called Blue Dot, and they forecasted this COVID back in, they were able to identify it because that's what they do. They look at different strains of viruses and contagious diseases and what have you. And they were able to put all this in an algorithm and be able to trace for years, is what this company does, where when something like this might hit like SARS and where it will go. And they've got like little blue dots where they were able to show like at Wuhan where the people, where they left and where they flew and what would happen if that person went to a certain place and how the cities exploded. And so they sent like an alert out to 12 cities like on January 1st of this year saying, we think something's going to hit even before they knew anything.
Who's they? This company?
This company called
Is it
Blue
Amer-
Dot. It's an American.
company?
I think it's an Australian company, but they're the people that hired them. Their clients are like Home Depot and the Army or whatever. I don't know who their clients are, but they were able to warn them. And like the Canadian government uses them, and the Canadian government said they were telling them, we believe that you need to start preparing. We may have an outbreak because of what we're seeing here, the data feeds. And so the bigger the blue dot, the bigger the area of the contagion would be.
Contamination.
And they were following airline records where people were flying out of
Right.
Wuhan and back,
Right.
which oddly, the people that were flying out of Wuhan, lots of them were flying out, not as many were flying in internationally. after they knew that this thing hit, and they were going to places like Italy, Spain, Japan,
New York.
and New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco, and that's where the blue dots were getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
And but anyway, they were using airline data and phone data. You can be traced on your phone apparently. So Big Brother can watch us. I don't really care who watches me, but I'm thinking that if they could just hone this down into something. I'm always into the dating mode. I think they're like with the Match.com, they made a lot of money on that kind of thing. If wives, husbands, people that suspect you're cheating or something, if you could just put this,
Man, they didn't give us trackers for years, and now they
my
can
daughter's
trace
telling
us
me
like
that Google and Facebook and your phone, or maybe it's Apple, is able for sure to trace you at all times.
I have it on my phone and share it with my
Whenever
family.
I get a client and I want to see if they're telling me the truth about something, my daughter's like, just get their phone and I'm going to tell you where they've been. I'm like, wow.
Yeah,
This
you
is
can do that.
crazy. So did y'all know that the phones could do that?
Yeah, I did.
Well, yeah.
So do y'all ever use it to trace anybody?
I know on Google, you can, if you use Google Maps regularly, you can go to their website and it shows you everywhere you've been in the past year.
Is that right?
that's
Right now. So tell me how to do that real quick so our listeners might want to know too. If I go to Google Maps, how do I do that?
You have to have a profile.
Okay.
So when you
Yeah.
access Google Maps, typically through a phone or a website, you either it'll be like, oh, are you signed in? Would you like to sign in? And if you sign in, you go to your settings and you can turn on some stuff.
Okay,
And
but it knows without me putting the settings on, it can go historically and see where I've been?
I think through.
Jack is shaking his head.
I would
yes.
say yes, but I don't know if it's as specific because it just depends on where, like, what phone you're using, how often you're using it for Google Maps,
Okay.
things like that. Because you can add different profiles and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so I'm just curious, if I wanted to, from a criminal defense standpoint, if I wanted to see where somebody's been, because everybody lies, my clients
yeah,
and
but
the other people.
it just depends if they have it. If they have it turned on, you can definitely get hard data.
Okay, if they don't have it turned on, though, you can't. Is that
It depends
correct?
on the program. It depends on
Okay.
how you can access the program.
Okay,
Now,
all right.
Google could technically tell you.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Even if
Well-
you don't have it turned on?
Well, yeah.
And my daughter works for Google.
Well, then, so she should have
New
access to
assistant.
that information. So, phase 2, because Grant is waiting, 5 minutes waiting. Phase 2, add an additional 1,000 contact tracing. Deploy contact tracing applications statewide, outbreak management, self-reported cases, and then also deploy statewide COVID-19 tracing call center. And that's supposed to be by April 27th. And
Yesterday, day before yesterday.
And then by May 11th, phase 3, build a team of 4,000 contact tracers, expand contact tracing application to local health departments, and continued support of contact tracing call center. So we have, and that is for May 11th. So we'll see if that all gets done. There are people that are concerned about it. I remember after 9/11 and TSA, and now we were concerned with all the screening.
And I was just going to say this. Remember how I said this whole virus started at Lent and it's going to end at Pentecost?
Okay,
This is
all
an
right.
Easter virus. They should just call it that. That's
Nice.
my
Hey,
forecast.
That's what
Rule
Trump
6
said.
is no conspiracy theories.
Yeah, on Open Texas.
really? You're kidding.
Listen,
Is it
we're
really?
going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to have Grant Bynum,
Okay.
the founder of Open Texas, on live to talk to us. So we'll be right back.
An estimated 1 in 10 births will result in a neonatal intensive care stay, also known as the NICU. Overnight, a family can find themselves and their newborn baby in a critical situation. The Mila Foundation financially and spiritually assists families in need. If you would like to volunteer or become a monthly sponsor, please visit us at www.themilafoundation.org. Again, that's www.themilafoundation.org, because every life matters.
This is Rick, TRC. Every Tuesday on my show, Afternoons with Lone Star from 3 to 7, I play back-to-back classic rock hits. That's right. I like to call it a 2 for Tuesday or a 3 for whatever it is you'd like. Call the request line 936-647-3776 or message me on Facebook, Afternoons with Lone Star, make a music request. That's right, you can do it. here's what else. Go over to our website, irlonestar.com. Get the app on your phone. It's easy. You'll like it.
Did you know that there are over 153 million orphans in the world today? The sad reality is 99% of those kids will likely never be adopted. Core Love is an organization right here in Conroe that takes care of orphan children in Haiti, Honduras, and India. We bring the love of Jesus by providing their 6 basic needs of clean water, proper food, healthcare, education, job skills, and a loving home. Visit corelove.org, that's CORELUV.org. Will you help defend the orphan?
Lone Star Community Radio is looking for those who are interested in hosting their own talk show with monthly and weekly slots available in Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and on irlonestar.com. Start your own podcast, create your first YouTube channel, and be on TV. Contact Lone Star Community Radio online at irlonestar.com or call the station message line at 936-647-3776 to take your first step into the radio world.
Welcome back to the Legal Connection with Tony and Cheryl. And we are here today. We are so happy to have Grant Bynum, the founder of Open Texas, on the air with us. How are you, Grant?
Howdy, you guys. Wait.
Can you tell us what Open Texas is? I'm so excited to hear about all this.
Grant, you're breaking up. We can't hear you.
Oh, well.
Grant.
We heard him for a while.
Yeah, no, I think he's still there. Grant, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, so sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was just saying, is this the show that has the best lawyers in Montgomery County?
That would be
Ever.
the show, Grant. And Grant, I already told our listeners that you're my brother. So, guys, he had to say that.
And an Aggie. You're an Aggie, right?
No, he's not an Aggie.
I'm an Aggie dad.
Yeah.
and,
That's
my
close
son
enough.
is currently attending, and my wife is a big Ag.
Well, I know all your money's going to A&M, and so that
That's
makes you an
true.
Aggie.
That's true.
That's true. So, how did the rally go this morning?
Oh, it was fantastic. Probably had it was in downtown Dallas, in Dealey Plaza, and I think there was about 100 to 150 for a Tuesday. That's a really good number.
Yeah.
Yeah, but tell us about how you got started with this and what it is. I have no idea.
Open Texas started 15 days ago.
I know.
I just was walking around looking, and by the way, I love you guys and I trust you guys, and I'm giving you the only interview that I've really given other than a very short one to the Dallas Morning News. We've had all sorts of agencies asking me, and I just refuse to give interviews. So,
Well, we
we've had Bloomberg.
appreciate that, Grant, and we
No,
appreciate
no
your
worries.
trust.
I just don't trust them, and I trust you guys. So,
Well, good. Then we're going to give you the open mic. Just how did you? When you said you walked around, what city
Yeah,
did you
yeah,
walk around in?
I-
Give us some background.
I was having just a wonderful day, and it was sunny, and I was walking around and doing some biking also.
Where? What
and
city?
Dallas,
This is in Plano,
Okay.
Plano,
Texas, and
suburb of Dallas.
I just kept noticing such a beautiful day, sunny, probably low 70s, and then I looked around and I saw all these people with masks. I saw all these great stores empty or almost empty, and I just kept feeling like we're in this 1984 novel or apocalyptic vision or
Yeah.
something. It just really struck me. So I just said, this isn't right. I've never really started an organization, but I said, this isn't right. I contacted one other guy, and I said, hey, start this with me.
Uh-huh.
And he said, sure. We didn't really, know what we were doing, but we said, we got to do something. And then I said, okay, let's ask one more friend each of us, and then we'll start it with 4. So we started it. It was 15 days ago, like I said, and
But when you
it was at
started
8
it, what was your the format, the goal? I mean, you were just basically, we want to open up Texas again, or what was it that you were starting?
Yeah, at that time, churches were still totally closed, and you couldn't even open it in any format. That opened up a few days ago.
Right.
Right.
Our church just opened yesterday, and it's
Yeah.
unbelievable it was closed for that long.
Yeah. Well, a lot of churches are still closed, even though this is open, because they're fearful.
Right.
So, anyway, so we started basically to say all churches, all businesses need to be open now. We believe that we have constitutional rights with the U.S. Constitution and the Texas Constitution, and our rights are given to us by God. They're not given to us by
your First Amendment rights to be able to speak and go to religious functions and all that are
Peacefully
being
assemble.
breached,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and they have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And so we kind of thought we were, just with all of the conditioning we've gotten from the press, we kind of thought we were just weirdos.
Yeah.
And so we said, let's just see if there's anybody else that agrees with us. Surely at Texas, our goal was, we thought maybe we can get 500 people, that we would have considered that a success. Well, within one day, we had about 1,300 people. So from 0 to 1 day, it was 1,300. And then within 7 days, it was, 20-something thousand. Now we're up to 53,000.
Okay, so let me ask you this. That's amazing. First, it appears that your goal is to you're arguing that people have a constitutional right to have freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom to gather, enjoy peaceful enjoyment without the government telling them what they can do. So your goal is to ask the government to step back so people can take their own risk that is their God-given right, as well as their constitutional right. Is that correct?
That's exactly right. We are not a throw out the government organization in any means,
Right.
but we do believe that they have overstepped their boundaries. I think Texans and Americans need to realize that we are a self-governing people.
Yes.
We are not a people that looks to our leaders to do it. They're supposed to carry out our wishes, not the opposite.
Yes.
That's China.
Right.
Well,
So, yeah.
exactly. Well, Grant, let me ask you this. What do you think about Greg Abbott? I know you and I have talked about this at length, but I just want our listeners to know what your view is on Greg Abbott and his leadership at the time and these, what do you call them, edicts that he's rolling out. What do you think about Greg Abbott, first of all?
Well, I've said all along, I'm actually a big supporter of Governor Abbott. I have been for years. I voted for him, multiple times. I love Governor Abbott. I pray for him. I pray for him about five times a week. So
I pray more for him.
yeah. So and we need to continue to pray for him. So I believe in him as a person. I believe, however, that he's made a terrible mistake. I don't know if that he is just listening to. He's gotten a very small cadre around him that has brainwashed him, or that he's just listening to them too much. I really don't know what's going on, but this isn't the Governor Abbott that I know. And
Really?
his strike force, I just don't know what they're thinking. There's common sense, and people know it, and it's to we as Texans can handle things. We don't need to be nanny-stated by a bunch of kind of one-worldish kind of doctors. We need to be open, and we can handle it. And by the way, if people need to stay home, yes, we support
Right.
that. If people want to have masks, I'm with you. No problem. Let
Right.
them do that.
But-
and there's a certain segment that needs to stay home.
Yeah.
But we've gone overboard.
Well, the thing is that and this is just from basically what I've read, that the government's responsibility is to make sure that as a people and society that we're protected, and that in the case of an emergency like a war, and this pandemic is like a war, that the government doesn't want to have the liability, and that's the whole reason that they're all doing this,
Right.
of people being hurt because the government didn't step in when they realized there was an emergency and protect the people with, as a governor, a governing body would. So I get why they're doing it. It's to, I think in large part, more than to just to be like stepping on everybody's toes, but to protect society as a whole, looking down at it, sort of globally, because that's what they feel that their responsibility is. But on the other hand, that there's a fine line that you walk, and I'm sure this is what your rally's all about, that the government cannot step over and breach. I mean, it's the whole constitutional issue. It's what has gone as far back as Mayberry versus Madison. It's when the government the government steps in, and they've gone way overboard in communist countries and socialist countries, and when they have that sort of dynamic, it's when the government steps in and tries to rule your life, as opposed to letting you have the freedom of taking your own risk and running your own. So I get why they're doing it. It's just we don't know, and maybe and you can add that. You can get that information to us. What information, who their source of information is, that they're
so skewed.
That's making it so that they feel like they have to give so much. I guess take so many of our rights away for the benefit of all. So I don't know, but let me ask you this real quick. You were saying, I was very, very interested in that. You went from 4 to 7 to 1,300, 5,000, 53,000. How did the 4 of you suddenly get so much back, supporting and background for these rallies? Explain that.
Well, first of all, people were very upset. It wasn't a intelligence on our part that just it's not like we went and did a Facebook ad and grew things and we put a campaign together. All we did is said we're just standing up for people. And
right.
Yeah, but who did you say that to?
To his friend.
To his friend, and then
we just said to friends, and then friends joined, and everybody's like, finally, somebody's standing up.
Right.
But did you get it on Facebook,
alone.
or did you make phone calls? I mean, how did you get so many people to know?
It's all Facebook.
He started the page.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, he started the page. Grant, Grant, based on what you're talking about, you're saying that you think that Abbott just is surrounded by some people that are giving him misinformation. Don't you think, you and I have talked about this, but I want the listeners to hear your response on this. Don't you think how it hit in New York just terrified everybody, and that the social distancing really has had an impact on how, as it's filtered through the other states, it's gotten less and less?
This is what I've heard, and I'm not an expert, and it's a shame that people like me who are not an expert have to become somewhat of one.
Right.
But what I've heard is that we needed to just let this all ride out. It's the coronavirus is a very contagious, much more so than the normal flu.
Right.
It's very contagious, but the death rate and even the symptomatic rate is so ridiculously low. It's at the same or even less than the flu. So from what I can tell, when I believe that we should have just let this ride out. This is COVID-19, by the way. There's been other strains of this,
right?
And they've gone through society, and there's 200 viruses that are in the air right now. So it should have just gone out. We should have just let it go. It would have been handled a lot more quickly versus sheltering in place. Sheltering in place actually is going to make it worse later, because
why is
then
that?
We need to get to where about 80% of our society has been exposed to it. And once we get to that level, it's called herd immunity. So once we are there, then the virus really can't do anything else. And plus it will protect us from future viruses that are related. But we're not, by the shelter in place, we're not being allowed to do that. So it's actually the people that say, oh, there is going to be another wave, they're actually right. There is going to be a bit more of a wave. Is it going to be a deadly wave? No. But there's going to be some more cases as we lift these things.
Well, my understanding about the sheltering in place was it wasn't so that it would protect everybody from getting it. It was so that we could slow the degree that it was that everybody got it, so that we didn't overload the health system, so it could play out just like not a bad virus, but people wouldn't die because they didn't have the supplies and the help that they needed, just like what happened in the Spanish flu back in 1918. So I got that. But what my daughter was giving me some statistics that corroborated what you were saying, that the the mortality rates from last year were matching the mortality rates from this year. There wasn't a higher degree of people dying. It's just that they were identifying the deaths as COVIDs right now, and she said what these hospitals and what and I don't know where she got these statistics, but it made sense. If the mortality rate and the number of people dying is about the same each year, then why wouldn't it have been significantly higher for this period last year? I mean, if COVID was really killing everybody, exponentially. She said that people that what they're doing, hospitals, I don't know if hospitals, but the way, because of all of the money involved, and if you follow the root of all evil is money. If you follow the money, you can usually get to why a lot of people, what the catalyst is, the motivation. But she was saying that there were some people complaining that their relatives were dying of other diseases. They knew that they had like a cancer or whatever it was, and that the hospitals were coding them as COVID deaths because they got some sort of financial benefit by doing that, and that there were all these people that were dying. The bottom line is there's not more people dying, just like you were saying. They're just saying that they're identifying the deaths, whether they have been tested or not, as COVID deaths. Maybe it's for the money. I don't know, but it corroborates what you're saying, that this pandemic, the numbers may be false, and that I don't know how reliable they are. We're getting so much information from all these different news agencies, and even our own, the Chinese government, all the governments, you can't rely upon what they're even saying.
Right.
So now, you were saying in your rallies, I want to know about the rallies. How do you put them together? When people show up, who speaks? What is the statistic, the source of information? Tell us about that.
Yeah, we put our own rallies together, but we're also basically a mouthpiece for many other people that are doing their rallies. So the first rally I heard about, we did not put together, was actually Austin. There was some really brave, and by the way, they were 20-something-year-olds.
Are you kidding?
Wow. No, they were awesome. They're my friends. Elia, and forgive me, I don't know her last name, and then Katie Bug. Those are the two that put together the Austin rally, and they did have a little bit of an emphasis, maybe more on vaccines than we do, but they put together the first rally.
But let me ask you this: they put a rally together. First off, when you put a rally together, don't you need a government permit for that?
It depends. Not
you
normally.
can give them notice. Grant gave them notice.
Yeah.
Actually, I warned him about that. But have you had an issue with not having a permit, Grant?
No.
Okay.
This is the great part: is police, at least as far as we've been concerned,
right,
and anything I've heard of, they're supporting us. They love it. They can't wait till this is over. You can tell they're not. We've even said, hey, we're going to be doing this. Let us know how we can abide by guidelines. They're very light and very friendly. The police are not these draconian stormtroopers that want to shut everybody down. They're with us.
What we read in all over Texas, and it might be all over America for that matter, is that the law enforcement were not going out and the attorney, city attorney for Houston, Hidalgo, they weren't going out and finding people and arresting people and bringing them down. They were actually just giving them notices that they shouldn't, they should exercise, social distancing and comply with the order to the extent that the order said that they couldn't open up. But what I was curious about is that if we've got a state order that says
no gatherings greater than 10 or 5.
And everything's shut down. Suddenly you gather, you're not in compliance with this order, and the police aren't enforcing that there's some confusion there to me that you were able to put it together and the police didn't say anything. So nobody said anything at all when you said, hey, Facebook friends, we're going to have a rally in front of the Capitol in Austin. Come on and show up and bring your signs, because we want the governor to know that he needs to open up this, take the shelter-in-place rules enact it so that we can start living our lives again. So kind of walk me through that. When you went to...
So, for example, in Austin, and this is coordinated more by Elia and Katie Bug, but they called the police about a day in advance, and they said, we're going to meet. And Austin, as you know, is not the most conservative at times.
Right.
So, but even their police were very friendly. And, now this was about almost, let's say about 12 days ago. So this is a quickly moving, a lot of things are changing. But this was when it was still very, very restrictive. And they said, all we are asking, you can have the rally, no problem. All we're asking is that you remain in groups of 10 and that you social distance. And they didn't say mask, anything else.
Really?
So,
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
No, they were nice, and that was then. And
That
then
was
we
then.
coordinated with Dallas. Let's see, this is the third rally,
Third. I think it's
rally in
the
Dallas,
third.
and then this is the and then we had a huge one in Frisco. And anytime we've talked with them, they have said, no, we don't have any restrictions. Just keep the peace. And
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you know what? We want to keep the peace, and we want you there. They've been absolutely wonderful.
Okay, is the
Right.
purpose the purpose of your rally is to get the attention of the government so that they lift all of these provisions that are taking our rights away? What are when you stand out there and you're rallying with the signs and all that stuff? Assuming there's signs,
There
and
are.
making speeches and stuff. Are you just trying to? Is your dialogue directed at the governor, or who is your dialogue directed to?
It's directed to the governor respectfully, and then it's also directed to the strike force, and it's also directed to the local officials. For example, in as you know, in Harris, you have a terribly overbearing county commissioner judge, Lena Hidalgo, and so some dialogue would be directed toward her with her ridiculous mask ordinance. Well, we have a similar thinking judge in the Dallas area. His name is Clay Jenkins. He's, in my opinion, the worst elected official in Texas, and he needs to be voted out.
Wow.
But we would also say that to him, and basically saying we're not gonna we're peaceful, we're not violent, but sorry, you've overstepped your boundaries, and this has to end. And you're going to open businesses up now.
Okay,
This
I
is
understand.
Clay.
Okay, I understand now.
Clay Jenkins was to Governor Abbott's credit, his whole timeline was at the end of April 30th. He was going to make a decision, and he didn't say what he was going to do, but essentially he's listed the more severe items of his guidelines, and now he's opened up at least some. But before that happened, a few days ago, Clay Jenkins said, "Hey, we've had 7 deaths, seven out of the whole in Texas, about 650. We've had 7 deaths. So, hey, we're going to extend the stay-at-home order to 30 days because of 7 deaths."
Oh, wow.
This is the same man that said, "Hey, we need to put these stay-at-home orders in place because we're going to have 430,000 deaths."
Oh,
Okay, that's all ridiculous. But let me ask you this: so do you have like a bullet list of things that you're requesting? Because I get it now. This rallies are the only way that we can get attention to the government officials to let them know that the people don't want these restrictions. We can take care of ourselves. We just want our constitutional rights to be complied with. So do you have a list of things? Have you sent a letter to the governor? What other things have you done other than, not that you're in charge of it. I mean, I'm happy that you're even going forward.
but just
and putting this
something that
energy into
other
it.
people that want to be involved. Do you have a bullet list of the objectives
What are you
that
looking
people should
for?
focus
What
on?
are you asking them to do? And what other things have you done to get to that end?
We've done primarily rallies. We've done petitions. We've encouraged a lot of other rallies. We've put together ideas. Oh, I forgot about this. We had a huge statewide honk-in.
Oh, yeah.
And,
Grant came up with that idea, the honking thing. That's Grant's idea. How'd that go?
No, it actually wasn't. It was somebody in a group, and I said that's a great idea.
Okay.
So,
But I don't understand. Tell me about the honking.
well, the honk-in was, again, this is almost 2 weeks ago, a little different environment, but because people were still very afraid to get out even and congregate and assemble, we said, okay, well, how about we go to the county courthouse or the city hall, and we just circle it with cars, and we have signs on the cars, and we honk.
Circling the wagon.
Yeah. And so y'all just
Yeah.
drove around and honked?
Yeah.
For how long?
And it happened in many cities, and it was the start, and it just kind of helps people go, you know what, I'm not going to die. I'm not going to get elected by a fish. I mean, I'm not going to get
Accosted.
arrested by a
Right,
official.
right.
And it gave him courage. So it was actually
Okay, so it's sort of like that. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore. Yelling it from the thing.
Okay, Grant. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think about them talking to Mark Zuckerberg and saying, people are using Facebook, this social platform, to do these demonstrations? And he said, I saw him. I can't remember what show he was on, but he was saying, we are seriously considering shutting them down. Now, I know you've heard about this. What do you think about it?
Well, he actually has shut a few down, but here's the deal. I've noticed that the ones he's shut down are in states that are democratically controlled with Democratic governors. So what's happening is the Democratic governors are actually petitioning Mark, and he's listening to them, and so they shut him down.
What do you think about that?
That's wrong. I think that Facebook needs to be broken up. I think the ownership, it needs to be broken up, and it needs to be either given to somebody else or eliminated. Facebook has too much power over us, and if they're going to, everybody knows they are the monopoly, and if they're going to continue to do stuff like this where they shut down conservative causes,
Right.
they need to be taken out.
Now, let me ask you this, though. What is it specifically that's on your bullet list that you're asking Governor Abbott to do? And did his new order that just came out, does that do any of the things that you're asking for?
Well, it's some small victories. One victory is, and this was not even really, I don't think, in the plan. It was just something that, thank God, a reporter asked him at the very end of his conference that he had yesterday, and he addressed it. And because of that statement, this great victory is, he basically said, the mask, we are going to suggest to wear the mask, but in no municipality or territory or county can a mask ordinance be enforced anymore. As of today, this is now superseded.
Okay.
So
Really?
you do not have to. Yes, you do not. You cannot be prosecuted for wearing a mask. So if any business
Or not wearing a mask, right?
yeah, for not wearing a mask. So if any, y'all would know this better since you have a legal mind, but I don't. So if that's true, I don't think any business can force you. They can put a guideline up there, but they can't force you. So that was a big victory. Even getting some amount of opening is good, but y'all think about it. If a restaurant is allowed to open now on May 1st, 25%. I don't know any restaurant owner that can even stay in business at a 25% level. You might as well just have it closed.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe 50%, but 25%. That's who is this run by? Who is coming up with these guidelines and these percentages?
So you're going to
Right.
continue to rally to get what is it you're still asking for?
We want all businesses open, and frankly, we want something in place. We don't know what it is yet. We're still very young, but we want something in place where this can never happen again. That a governor should not have these rights to do this. There's a case going on now. It's now headed to the Supreme Court, but it went through Pennsylvania, and it was, I believe, some businesses, and they complained about their governor. It's a Democratic governor, and so now it's hitting the Supreme Court where they were classified as a non-essential business. So they objected to it, and I'm hoping and believe it's going to be heard by the Supreme Court quickly. But that needs to happen where this can't happen again.
That's true. That the government has that much control that they can just identify a business as a non-essential, so it shuts them down economically. Whereas their neighboring business is deemed essential and can pick up the extra business. There's business as usual. And there might just be, like, for example, my son was asking me this, the difference between a bar and a restaurant. Why would it be fair that the restaurant can open, but the bar still can't be open? The bar owner is now going to go under. So there's a protection of equal rights issue there, and there's a lot of lawsuits flying right now with regard to people suing the government.
Tony and Cheryl, hey, best legal mind to your audience. Best legal minds here. If anybody needs some legal action, you need to use them. They'll get you some action.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you. Hey, listen, we have 3 more minutes. I have one more question for you that's a little off topic. I want our listeners to know that I think Grant's one of the smartest people I've ever known, and very conservative, and I appreciate that. Trump, what do you think, Grant? What do you think about Trump stopping all immigration to this country?
I think it was a good move at the time. I think we need to. But honestly, I think the best thing he could do is fire and kick out 2 people, and that's Fauci and Burke. They need to go.
Oh, really? You think that, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they're
Does that have
terrible.
anything to do with immigration?
No,
When he said that, I was just, I don't know, I was amazed. I think that guy's got more guts. He's just very, very gutsy. I was impressed.
Who's gutsy?
yeah.
Trump,
Okay, our
Trump.
president.
using this as an opportunity to protect American jobs when we try to reopen and all of that. I was just,
Well, I mean, from an
in
immigration
shock.
standpoint, I think that he did have to stop people coming over the border and going back and forth because we don't have any control over our own country and the virus being spread. Regardless
And
of,
then jobs.
there's not enough information to know whether the virus is coming in and what else is coming. I love the idea that perhaps the silver lining to this whole strain and all that is that maybe we can have rules in place when people come in that we can have, because we don't have any constitutional rights. So before they
Track 'em.
come in, we can make
Track 'em.
sure that they are safe to be able to enter.
Okay, well, listen, Grant, that's all the time that we have for today. We really, really appreciate you coming on
Yeah,
and
it's my
talking
pleasure.
to our
Thanks for having me
listeners.
on.
We're grateful that we are the only people that you've given an interview to, except for one small Dallas Morning News interview. And we want you to stay safe and stay healthy and keep on being an American. We really appreciate it.
As opposed
Okay,
to
love you
the other
guys.
option.
We love you too, Grant. You take care.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, we want to thank you for listening. That's all we have for today. We want to remind you to always
Serve God by serving others.
have a great week.
Today's show was recorded and broadcasted live on irlonestar.com, Conroe's FM 104.5, 106.1, and all rights and ownership are reserved to Lone Star Community Radio. For more information regarding this program and Lone Star Community Radio, visit us online at irlonestar.com. Lone Star Community Radio is Montgomery County's community radio station, serving the community with local programming on TV, radio, and online. If you enjoyed today's program, please support us by sponsorship or starting your own show. Contact us today by phone or text at 936-666-1084 or email the station at lscrstudios@gmail.com.